Good morning. Welcome back. I'm Marissa Bodner.
And I'm Gregg Lagerquist, and obviously right now we are remembering 24 years since, of course, a huge day in our country's history, the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Yeah, a day that changed our nation forever, and certainly a lot of folks in our newsroom right now weren't working here at the time, but Greg, you were among those. You were a reporter at the time.
I was a reporter at the time, and I'm sure everyone has their own memories of 9/11 who lived through that day. Hard to forget, obviously. Distinctly, I remember, I worked a day shift during those days, and I remember getting into work that morning after listening on the radio on the drive into work, and everyone was just glued to the TV screens in our newsroom. And of course, it's a newsroom. We have TV screens all over there, as we do today. Everyone was looking up, and at that, almost the exact moment I walked into the newsroom is when we were looking up and the second plane hit.
Wow.
And that's when, like the rest of America, were like, okay, this is not a mistake. It was just, and the feeling, but we went right away into sort of like, okay, how do we cover this? What do we do?
Yeah, what unfolded from there as a reporter? What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, everyone was sort of going to different places. What we got to remember is, at that time, literally every federal building we thought could be the next place that could be attacked. There was that much fear and uncertainty and concern. I was personally sent up to Augusta to cover, for example, I think at the time it was the federal building, the Muskie building up in Augusta, to go there. They were evacuating that building. And then Governor Angus King was the governor at the time. He was mobilizing the state's resources there at the State House. And so I was there all day long. We were doing live reports throughout the day, obviously taking national reports. And I just remember the feeling of just so much surreal, like this is how uncertain it all felt. But in a newsroom, we obviously we had a story to tell, and so we were in go mode from the moment it was all happening.
And obviously a lot of this happening in New York City, but it sounds like there was still a lot of chaos and uncertainty here in Maine.
Yes.
And then, add to that the fact that you soon learned that two of the terrorists actually started the day in Portland and flew out of the jetport. So how did you piece all of that together?
Yeah, by the end of that first day, actually, we were getting information that hey, you know what? This wasn't, obviously some of the planes that originated in Boston, we knew that right away. We were learning, though, pretty quickly towards the end of the first day that, wait a minute, two of these terrorists, and I still remember their names. I will go to my grave remembering their names. I'm not going to say it now. They don't deserve that. But two of them started in Portland, Maine that day. And we were the first to get video of the car, for example, being towed away that the terrorists had used, a rental car that they had used to drive to the jetport. And then we ran up to Augusta to talk to the state police and others about, hey, what's happening with the investigation? The FBI was swarming the Portland jetport. We learned that these two terrorists had been, stayed the night at the Comfort Inn, had been to what is now the Martin's and was the Walmart in South Portland at the time, Scarborough at the time, that they had eaten at the Pizza Hut. I mean, doing just such normal things that we all do. And over the years, obviously, I had a chance to talk to the ticket agent who was at the jetport that day, and forever lived with the guilt of realizing that he'd been the one who let these two seemingly businessmen rush through the Portland jetport. And of course, we know what happened next. So it was a lot of just, chaos is my memory of the time. And just, I remember when the first plane started flying again.
Yeah,
and just
that was
thinking
a big
how
change.
weird it looked.
Yeah.
And there was a pit in your stomach just seeing a plane in the air again. I think people were maybe too young to remember some of this stuff. It just, and of course today it's still different when you talk about airplanes.
Getting to an airplane through the airport, the security we go through forever changed because of this.
And I think that we here in Maine definitely remember the fact that we are, we do have this, tie to this moment in our history. And, if you want to think about things that never are going to go back to the way they were, I think you and I were talking before we were out here talking about this now. Go to the airport.
Picking family members up at the gate.
Yeah, go right to the gate. I remember I was literally 12 minutes away from my flight when I left my apartment at the time. I was living in Vermont at the time, but went to the airport, parked the car, ran in, went to the gate, on the plane in like 5 minutes. That'll never be the same. So obviously, we hear, and we can never forget, obviously, the almost 3,000 lives that were lost, including, I believe it was almost just under 10 Mainers that were killed that had connections to Maine. So we can never forget that fact as well. Those lives were obviously forever changed.
Yeah, we never forget. And Greg, thank you for sharing all of your memories. Yes. Next year, of course, a big year that will mark 25 years since 9/11.
Hard to believe.
For now, we'll send it back to you guys.
It is one of those tragedies that every single person who was alive and able to remember knows exactly where they were that day.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. I was on a morning show in Denver, and our producers in our ear actually said, hey, we're going to take live pictures from New York while I was anchoring the show. And they said, we think a small plane has like crashed into one of the towers. So we took that, we ad-libbed a little bit and said, hey, we'll be back with more right after this. Went to a commercial break, came back. And we go, hey, welcome back. We're taking live pictures. We took live coverage from one of the New York affiliates down there, and we just took them live. And while we're on the air watching this, we watched the second plane go right into the World Trade Center, the second tower. And I got chills just even talking about it right now. And I look at my co-anchor, Laura Thornquist. I look right at her and I said, looks like we're going to be here all day. And we were on the air all until like 6 o'clock that night. And I remember the next morning, I was in at like 4 o'clock in the morning doing a story about people donating blood and taking it to the airport out there in Denver to try to transport it to New York. I interviewed somebody who was in one of the buildings below the World Trade Center that was trapped and had to shimmy down some buildings. It was an incredible way that he had to escape through this building, that he could see the towers coming down, and so many stories. And it was just an incredible experience. And to this day, I still think about that, and just how many lives were lost, and you know how again I look at Portland. I remember buying the 9/11 Commission report, and on the front page, the first page of that, Portland, Maine. Mm-hmm. First page of that.
Yeah, and that was something I didn't know at the time. I was in elementary school in computer class, and I just remember a teacher coming in saying everybody needs to get back to their classrooms, and not really knowing exactly what was going on, but just my big memory is just fear from the adults in school, and then also when we got home, we got released early that day, and just not knowing what was going on, and kind of Greg alluded to this too, not knowing if there were other targets, or, you know, it felt like every building maybe was, you know, in danger. And so, yeah, it took a while to kind of get things back to normal.
Yeah, and one of the things I really remember of this is such a horrible incident, but I think the one thing, the positive thing we took out of this is everybody came together. We were the United States of America. Mm-hmm. I remember I went home, put an American flag up on my house, and I was driving home, I was watching other people do that. And I just got chills right now thinking about that. We were all on the same team back then, all one country, and I think that's the one thing we can take from that. We supported the president back then, President Bush, and supported each other, and just all those things. Well, of course, we'll never forget the flag ladies in Freeport that for years went out there and waved flags in honor of the victims of course, the 9/11. And so many stories I hear from Maine.
And how about that first, it was a baseball game that happened right after, I believe. It just so powerful in New York City. Yeah. Everybody coming together, like you said, just to honor the victims and the heroes that day.
It's incredible that the New York Mets were playing the New York Yankees in the World Series. It all happened in New York. And of course, a lot of people forget about the Pentagon. We put so much focus on you know, New York City, but we forget Pennsylvania sometimes and the Pentagon. A lot of people perished in those crashes too.
Well, a reminder.